Word on the street is that Jay-Z has finally, officially, publicly snapped, and the moment his people leaked out of Yankee Stadium, hip-hop stopped breathing. Sources are alleging that HOV privately told a room of his closest confidants that he is done playing the elder statesman, done pretending Toronto's golden child doesn't exist, and done letting a kid 20 years his junior treat the throne like a footstool. Baby, if what insiders are whispering is even half true, Jay-Z is not preparing a diss verse. He is preparing an industry-wide extinction event, and Drake is standing directly in the blast radius. And guys, the receipts, the tea, and the ugly little details behind this Cold War are so much wilder than anything the Kendrick era ever gave us. I promise you have never heard the story told this way, so pull up a seat, honey, because this one is a movie. Now let me set the temperature in the room, because a lot of y'all still don't understand what really happened at Yankee Stadium. That was not a nostalgic celebration of 30 years of reasonable doubt. That was a signal, and every rapper who has ever taken a subliminal shot at HOV in the last decade heard it loud, clear, and dripping in blood. When he looked into that crowd of 60,000 screaming fans and said, "I played enough defense. 2026 is all offense." That was not a bar. That was not a punchline. That was a boardroom decision dressed up as a performance, and the target on the wall had one name written on it in permanent ink. Not Nicki. Not Wayne. Not any of the ghosts of feuds past. The one contender who actually has the streams, the catalog, the fan base, and the sheer commercial gravity to give a 60-year-old billionaire a real fight. Drake. And here is where it gets crazy, because Jay-Z's entire silence for the last 2 years wasn't peace. It wasn't maturity. It wasn't him being above it. It was strategy. He watched Kendrick Lamar dismantle the Six God in real time. He watched the Super Bowl halftime execution. He watched the entire culture pile on. And instead of taking his shot when the boy was on the ground, HOV did something more calculated. He waited. He let the culture forget. He let the wounded rapper stumble back to his feet. And now, just when the streams started climbing again, just when the tour numbers started flexing, he stepped on the stage in the Bronx and reminded the world that the real boogeyman never left the building. Honey, that is not a diss. That is a hit job with orchestral accompaniment. But here is the twist that nobody wants to admit out loud, and this is where the tea gets scalding. The champagne poppy of 2026 is not the same target Kendrick was picking on 2 years ago. He is a different animal now. Drake owns his masters. He has owned them since 2018, back when HOV was still fighting Def Jam in courtrooms just to reclaim what he built. That catalog has been privately valued by some industry insiders at well over $1 billion in streaming rights alone. Without a single tequila brand, without a Rock Nation empire, without a champagne war with LVMH, the Toronto rapper built a music fortune that arguably rivals what HOV built with music, liquor, sports agencies, streaming platforms, and cognac deals combined. And when Drake says he has bees on the table, he is not exaggerating, he is not flexing, he is stating a boardroom fact that Universal Music Group knows down to the decimal. So when Jay-Z looks across the battlefield in 2026, he is not looking at the same wounded rapper Kendrick left bleeding at halftime. He is looking at a man whose bank account might actually be beating his in the one lane HOV built his mythology on. Rap music. And that, baby, is what nobody in the Rock Nation camp will ever say on camera, but everybody in hip-hop is finally starting to say out loud. Let me pause right here because I know some of y'all are already in the comments losing your minds. I already see it. I already feel it. But hear me out, because the numbers do not lie. The Toronto kid streams more than 20 times what HOV streams on back catalog on any given week. 20 times. Read that number again slowly for the people in the back. Jay-Z's catalog is legendary, historic, untouchable in cultural weight. But in the streaming economy where royalties are counted and checks are cut, Drake is playing a game his elder was too early to fully win. And that reality, that quiet, uncomfortable reality, is why some analysts believe HOV has been waiting for the perfect moment to remind the world that cultural value and commercial value are two different currencies. He still owns the culture. Whether he still owns the commerce is the exact question the new king is daring him to answer. And this is where the plot thickens, so stay with me. Because here is what the Yankee Stadium show revealed that most of the reaction videos completely missed. He did not do that concert alone. He pulled a card so cinematic it looked scripted by a Marvel executive. He brought out Rihanna, a retired, silent, unbothered, untouchable Rihanna. A woman who has not dropped an album since Anti in 2016. A woman who politely tells Grammy producers no, who politely tells Super Bowl bookers no, who politely tells every streaming service on earth no, walked onto that stage in the Bronx and reminded 80 million people watching clips online that only one man on this planet can pull Rihanna out of retirement with a phone call. And that man is not Drake. That man is HOV. And in the psychological warfare of a rap feud, that image, that visual, that flex, was worth more than any diss verse could have possibly delivered in a studio. It was a declaration. It said, my Rolodex ends careers or resurrects them. Which do you want, son? And guys, the message landed. Drake absolutely heard it. Because within days, the Six God did something we have not seen him do since the push-ups era. He pulled up to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's birthday party in Toronto with his hair cut down, his OVO chain glowing, his energy sharpened like a soldier reporting for duty, and he grabbed a mic and started freestyling. But this was not a party freestyle. This was a message. He mocked the entire premise of HOV rapping a cappella at the Roots picnic. He mocked the freestyle format the Elder has been leaning on for years. He mocked the very idea that a 60-year-old man with no current radio single could challenge him. Too many nights. We've had too much fun. Two on a jersey, but we're here for the one. Sounds harmless. Sounds like a birthday toast. Read between the lines, and it is a sniper shot fired straight at an aging playbook. And the room laughed. Because the room understood. The Toronto kid is not scared. He is not backing down. He is walking into this war with the exact same energy he refused to bring against Kendrick. And that, my friends, is a very dangerous shift in the story. Now this is the part where I need you to really pay attention, because this is the piece almost every commentator in this entire cycle has gotten wrong. Everybody keeps framing this like it is a rerun of Drake versus Kendrick. It is not. It is not even close. Kendrick came at him armed with moral outrage, cultural credibility, and West Coast machine backing. Kendrick had the streets, the critics, the cosigns, and the Pulitzer Prize energy all pointing in one direction. Kendrick had a righteous frame, and no amount of catalog could out-argue righteousness. But Jay-Z? Honey, he does not have a righteous frame in this fight. This is a billionaire against a billionaire. This is a corporate empire against a corporate empire. This is Rock Nation against OVO. And when the frame is corporate versus corporate, Drake is not the underdog. He is not the villain. He is, in some very uncomfortable ways for the Elder, the modern winner. He owns his masters younger. He owns his streams bigger. He owns his brand faster. And the second the culture starts framing this as old guard billionaire trying to eat a new guard billionaire, the moral tables flip in a way HOV has never had to defend against. And this is exactly why insiders are alleging that Jay-Z is quietly assembling a coalition. Word on the street is that Rock Nation has been on the phone. Word on the street is that Pharrell has been in his ear. Word on the street is that Fabulous, who himself has an ongoing sub-war with the OVO camp, has been making his position painfully clear at Yankee Stadium and beyond. Sources are saying HOV is not planning to fight this in the booth alone. He is planning to fight it in the ecosystem, in the boardrooms, in the streaming deals, in the press, in the awards, in the sponsorships. And every ally he pulls into his camp is one more knife pointed at the throne the Toronto kid has been holding for a decade. If this feud escalates the way sources are suggesting, we are not looking at a diss track versus a diss track. We are looking at an industry civil war. The old guard versus the new guard. The billionaires who built the machine versus the billionaire who beat the machine at its own game. And the winner does not just take the crown. The winner rewrites the rules of the crown itself. But let me get into something even messier, because the internet has been screaming about it for a week now, and it deserves proper unpacking. Some industry veterans have been publicly pointing out something HOV probably does not want highlighted in his current press run. The uncomfortable truth about masters. Because see, the reason he has his masters right now is not because he negotiated them cleanly from the jump like the OVO founder did. He had to spend the second half of his career strategically buying, trading, and leveraging his return to Def Jam as president just to claw those masters back. And that was after decades of being tangled in the same predatory 90s contracts that everybody from Jadakiss to the Locks to half of Bad Boy publicly cried about. So when a rapper from the 90s clutches their pearls at a new age rapper for anything business related, a whole generation of hip-hop economists is standing in the corner side-eyeing the entire monologue. Because Bad Bunny owns his masters. Taylor Swift fought a public war and reclaimed hers by re-recording them. Drake has owned his current masters and has since 2018 in his prime, not on his way out the door. And that math, that timeline, that generational imbalance is exactly the ammunition his camp is quietly loading into the chamber. Because if this becomes a business fight, the receipts are not on HOV's side of the ledger, honey. They just are not. And that is why the wild card in this entire war is not another rapper. The wild card is Universal Music Group. Because remember, the pre-2018 catalog does not belong to the artist. It belongs to Universal. And some music industry analysts have said that those pre-2018 streams alone generate more revenue than the entire catalog decade of the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s combined on major streaming platforms. Combined. So if the Toronto boss ever wants to buy that catalog back the way his elder bought his back, Universal is not just going to hand it over with a smile and a handshake. They are going to write a number so massive it will make even a billionaire blink. Which means both of these men are actually locked in the exact same fight, from opposite corners, against the exact same system. The label. And this is the part of the story that would make it a Netflix limited series if it fully played out. Because in a strange, ironic, hip-hop way, they should be allies. Instead, they are gladiators. And somebody has to lose. Now let me pivot to the psychology of the moment, because I do not think enough people are analyzing where the champagne poppy's head is really at right now. He is coming off the biggest public loss of his career. The Kendrick Lamar chapter was not just a rap loss. It was a cultural humiliation broadcast at the Super Bowl to over 100 million viewers, and every rapper on earth watched him take that shot without a real answer. That has been sitting in his chest for 2 years, and anybody who has ever competed at the highest level of anything knows exactly what that kind of loss does to a competitor. It rewires them. It hardens them. It builds a version of them that is willing to burn the whole thing down just to prove they are not who the internet said they were. And what better redemption arc, what better narrative payoff, what better final chapter than the sixth god taking down the biggest goat in the genre right after losing to the second biggest? That, ladies and gentlemen, is not just a beef. That is a resurrection story. And Drake writes his best material when he is bleeding. Everybody in the industry knows that. Which is why some of the closest OVO collaborators have quietly been telling reporters that the label is on lockdown right now. No leaks. No previews. No feature drops. Studio access has been narrowed to a handful of trusted engineers. He is reportedly working with the same intensity he had before the Take Care era, the last time he was truly hungry, truly angry, and truly convinced that he had something to prove. And baby, a hungry Drake is a scary Drake. Because the version that made Marvin's Room was not the same as the version that made Hotline Bling. The version that made Back to Back was not the same as the version that shrugged off the Meek Mill era. When he locks in with something to prove, the receipts get scary. And Jay-Z, for all his mythology, for all his wisdom, for all his empire, has not written a full studio album with real stakes attached in over half a decade. That gap in ring rust is not small. That gap in ring rust is a canyon. And the Toronto kid is standing on the other side of it holding a torch. Now I know some of y'all are going to hit the comment section with, but HOV can wrap circles around him lyrically. And listen, I am not the one to argue lyricism. He is one of the greatest catalogs of lyrical moments in the history of the genre. That is fact. That is stone. That is engraved. But lyricism does not win rap beefs in 2026 the way it did in 2001. Rap beefs in 2026 are won on virality, on streaming velocity, on meme adoption, on TikTok pickup, on which line lands with which demo. And the sixth god, whether purists like it or not, is the most viral rapper alive. He understands the modern algorithm the way his elder understood the mixtape circuit in 1996. This is not a lyrical debate. This is a distribution war. And in a distribution war, he has the machine, the fan base, the reach, and the platform experience that even the Rock Nation empire has to respect. That is the part nobody in Jay-Z's camp wants to whisper out loud. But it is the elephant in every meeting. And then there is the Rihanna factor, because let's be honest, that is the emotional grenade sitting on the table that nobody has fully unpacked yet. Rihanna and the Toronto rapper have a history so tangled, so public, so mythologized in pop culture that anytime she appears in HOV's orbit, OVO fans immediately flinch. So when he pulled her out of retirement at Yankee Stadium, some observers said it was a career flex, but others said it was a personal message, a reminder, a little needle threaded straight into the ribs. Now I am not saying that is what was intended, but I am saying, honey, that the man does nothing by accident, and he has been in the chess business for 30 years. Every piece on his board is placed with intention. And if the boy looked at the footage of Rihanna standing next to his elder at Yankee Stadium and felt anything other than a small twinge of something, he is a better man than most. Because that image was not just a stage moment. That image was a chapter in a story he has been trying to close for a decade. Here is where his own words become important. Because in a recent sit-down interview, Drake was asked about HOV directly. And for the first time in maybe his entire career, he admitted that the tension is not just competitive anymore. He said the respect goes both ways. But he also said the jabs are real, the fallouts are real, and the two of them have actually sat down face to face and unpacked some of it. That means there is more history between them than most fans know. That means the surface-level young boy versus old head narrative is hiding a much deeper backstory. That means somewhere in his memory bank are conversations, moments, deals, and disagreements the public has never seen. And when a rap beef comes with that much unspoken personal history, it does not stay lyrical for long. It gets personal. It gets petty. It gets specific. And it gets ugly. Fast. So the question everybody is asking, and it is the right question to ask, is this. Can a 60-year-old Jay-Z really hang with the most viral rapper on the planet in a full-scale modern rap war? And I want to give you the honest, uncomfortable, culturally accurate answer. It depends entirely on what kind of war he decides to fight. If he tries to fight this on lyricism alone, in booth versus booth, verse versus verse, cadence versus cadence, he has a real shot. Because HOV is still one of the greatest technical rappers in the history of the language. But if he tries to fight this on the modern battlefield, on the streaming numbers, on the viral moments, on the short-form video ecosystem, on the meme cycle, on the algorithmic churn, then he is walking into Drake's Stadium. And that is a stadium the Toronto kid has been headlining alone for a decade. That is his home turf. That is where he ate Meek Mill alive. That is where he danced on Pusha T until Pusha had to concede. That is where every challenger before Kendrick got flattened. And Kendrick only won because Kendrick fought him on moral terrain, not on numeric terrain. His elder does not have moral terrain in this fight. He has cultural nostalgia. And nostalgia is a soft weapon in a hard war. But do not sleep on HOV. Because he has something the Sixth God has never fully had. Political capital. Real political capital. The kind of capital that gets you into the NFL boardrooms. The kind of capital that gets you into the White House Rolodex. The kind of capital that puts your foundation on the front page of every business magazine in America. Jay-Z can call in favors from tiers of the industry the OVO camp has never even seen the elevator floor for. And if this beef ever escalates from lyrical shots to actual industry maneuvering, he has moves on the board most of the challengers' team has not even seen the outlines of. So while Toronto wins the streaming lane, Brooklyn might win the structural lane. And in a war that lasts long enough, structural power tends to eat streaming power for breakfast. Just ask any independent artist who tried to fight a major label with only viral numbers on their side. So where does this all go from here? Where does this end? And I know some of y'all in the comments are going to say, just squash it. Hip-hop needs unity. Baby, I hear you. I hear you. But hip-hop was built on competition, and this rivalry, whether we like it or not, is going to define the next 24 months of the culture. Sources close to both camps are saying that the next domino to fall could come from the OVO side, and it could come in the form of a full-scale response record aimed directly at the Yankee Stadium moment. Others are saying HOV is sitting on unreleased studio material, produced with legendary hands, that has been waiting for the right window to drop. And that window, according to insiders, is closing fast. If Toronto fires first, Brooklyn is ready. If Brooklyn fires first, Toronto is ready. And the culture, the fans, the streaming platforms, the record labels, the award shows, and every corner of the media are all sitting on the edge of the same chair. Because whichever way this falls, one of these two men is walking out of 2026 with a diminished legacy. And in hip-hop, a diminished legacy is a slow-motion death sentence. Now let me be dead honest with you before I close this out. I do not think either one of them wants to lose this. And I do not think either one has the emotional bandwidth to walk away without swinging. That is what makes this different from every other rap beef we have covered on this channel. HOV has too much pride, too much history, and too much unfinished business to let the young king keep flexing his throne. And Drake has too much to prove, too much to bounce back from, and too much fresh anger in his chest to let a 60-year-old billionaire treat him like a child. Something is going to break. Somebody is going to snap. And when they do, we are all going to be sitting here processing a moment that hip-hop culture will still be talking about in 20 years. Just like we still talk about Nas and HOV. Just like we still talk about 50 and Ja. Just like we still talk about Kendrick and Champagne Papi. This is a chapter, and it is being written in real time. So here's what I want to hear from y'all in the comments. Do you think the Sixth God actually has the lyrical dexterity to take Jay-Z down, or is he going to freeze up again the way he froze up against Kendrick? Do you think HOV still has the wave, the modern relevance, the streaming firepower to keep pace with a fully locked-in Drake who is rebuilding a legacy? Do you think Rihanna's Yankee Stadium moment was a power flex or a personal shot? And most importantly, do you think this beef ends with a verse, ends with a boardroom deal, ends with a face-to-face sit-down, or ends with an industry earthquake nobody sees coming? Drop your prediction below. Tell me which side you are riding for. Tell me who you think walks out of this alive. And do not be shy about it. Honey, because this is the exact kind of conversation this channel was built for. If you made it to the end of this video, do me the biggest favor and hit that like button because it genuinely helps this content get pushed to the people who need to see it. Subscribe if you are new, because we are covering every single move in this saga, from the freestyles to the boardrooms to the leaks, and you do not want to be the last one in your group chat to find out what happened. Turn on the notifications, because when the next response drops or the next Yankee Stadium level move gets made, I promise you we will be the first ones breaking it down piece by piece, receipt by receipt, without the corporate media filter. And drop a comment telling me the exact moment in this story you think changed everything. Because I have my theory, but I want to hear yours first. This is not just a beef. This is a chapter. And baby, we are just getting started. See you in the next one.